All right, so we're gonna watch a little bit of a longer interview. I watched 2 minutes of the intro and they seem very, very interesting. Or this seems very interesting. So, title of this video is Can I be fully healed from C-PTSD? Dr. K interview by HealthyGamerGG. C-PTSD stands for complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that was correct. And it goes on for 2 hours. We're gonna put it on 1.25 speed and hopefully listen to the whole thing, because hopefully it's interesting, and I think it is. Let's see. Let's go.
And so, what's your name, friend?
William.
William. Welcome, William.
Thank you.
And I understand where you had asked a question on our AMA stream. Is that right?
Yep.
And what was your question?
Well, I have a lot of different questions though, but one of the ones are the one you have in the title. So, can someone actually be fully healed?
Okay. And what did I say back then? I don't remember. I was drunk.
I didn't ask that question. I asked, yeah, I asked about more. It's kind of the same. Like I thought I had gotten better. It's a little bit what you talked in the Rectful stream, where you think you get better, but after a while it hits you again, basically. And that's where I am at, basically. Yeah, I thought I dealt with my things, but it turned back again and stuff like that.
Okay. So when you say it turns back, or like, so it sounds like you made progress and then you start to slip back.
Yeah, I thought I was done with it, like, completely.
Okay.
Which my psychologist also thought. But then, like,
I feel
after
like that
2 months,
every summer.
it came back again, and it wasn't so clear because so what I could do before was I could actually listen to my emotion, like, why am I feeling? Oh, okay, I'm getting these kind of flashbacks or things like that. But this time it was more like a constant constant feeling how I felt that dragged me down. And I couldn't really listen to a specific thing, if it makes any sense. Like it was lasting for long periods.
Let's just take a step back, William.
That
So
makes
first, I
sense.
want to ask you for a definition. So when you say, can someone be fully healed?
Right.
So let's start with your perception. When you're asking that question, what do you think fully healed looks like?
To me, it is more like you can take it really without it affecting you.
Okay.
And
we'll get to what it is in a second. Okay, without it affecting you. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Okay.
I don't know
great.
what else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then can you tell me a little bit about what you've struggled with, and then, tell us what you struggled with, what got better, and then how you slipped back.
Okay. So I have, a very narcissistic parent. So
can you tell us what that means?
I mean, there's a lot to tell, but it was just, the world was evolving just around her basically. She did all only for her own benefits. I mean, the reason why she even got us kids born was for her to be able to stay in the country as well. She didn't really want to raise kids.
Help me understand how you know that.
She directly said it to me when I confronted. Because I've always, there's been a lot of questions. I've always tried to fit the puzzle pieces together with all the information I got from, my grandma.
And that hurts, dude. My mother also always said I would have had a career if I didn't have you, and that made us feel bad about it.
But I wondered how a person can behave like they can, like, how can a person be, or how did that person become who that person is? Like, how is it possible? So for instance, my grandma took care of me when I was younger, because my mom wasn't there, and my grandma was really, really nice person. So I didn't understand really why my mom turned out the way she turned out to be.
So
it didn't really make sense for me.
If it's okay with you, here's what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning that there are people in our audience right now who may have a narcissistic parent and don't realize that their parent is narcissistic.
Okay.
So what I'd love for you to do, if you feel comfortable with it, is to tell us, like, give us an example of something that your mom did, or a couple of the puzzle pieces. When you were asking, how did she end up this way? Like, what did you see that made you start to ask her, did you ever want kids? Right? Because that, like...
Well, Yeah. So I mean, ever since I was born, or as far as I remember, she told me that she hated me and that I just take space in the world and that I'm a total useless piece of shit. And
Oh
she
boy.
always put me into really high demands, like told me really high things. Or okay, yeah, like she minified me extremely much. Like I wouldn't pass like middle school, and when I passed middle school, she told me I wouldn't pass high school, and when I passed high school, she would tell me, you know, nothing
Yeah, that's
really
what they
pleased
did with
her,
me
and she
too.
would just yeah, minify me always, like by these tasks, like and I don't know, there's so much, like I could
Man, I
never
gotta say
watch
this is so crazy, man. Oh my god, poor kid, dude. I've been in his position. My parents also would make fun of me for not being good at school, and then they wouldn't help me with school stuff. That went on with like so many things. So many things. You know, they would make fun of me for something, and then they would blame me if I look for help or something. It's so like unthinkable.
beside her. I was actually always walking behind her when we were out walking in town or things like that. She had posters of herself, and she in the house, which I actually, yeah, I didn't think that much until my friends pointed it out. But
She had
also,
posters
she
of
always
herself.
claimed like the biggest room. I'm being very analytical here because I'm a very analytical person.
I see.
But she always, yeah, she always claimed the biggest room. When I compared to my friends when I was over at their places and stuff like that, um, they would sacrifice it for their kids. So they would take the smallest room and give the biggest room to their parents, to their kids. But my mom, which was like basically never at home, took the biggest room. She, when we wanted things or things like that, if it did not give her for any benefit, if it was just, yeah, let's say computer or computer game, she would not really spend money for that. But if it was more for her own benefit and status, she would help out, like you know, maybe getting into
Status.
better school or stuff like that. She would step up and do it, so she could brag more with her friends about how amazing her kids were. So for
All
instance,
about bragging. All about bragging.
when I met her friends and they asked me like, oh, who's this little guy? Um, it's very seldom that I even could present myself. It would usually be my mom speaking for me, and it would be so little. So it could be, oh yeah, that's my youngest son. He's 8 years old or so. And then she just goes immediately to my brother, which, you know, he's an A student. He's actually a doctor as well.
My condolences.
But yeah, so it was always drifting towards that immediately. Like, even when people asked me, she would just convert it directly to my brother and be like, "Oh, but his brother is a doctor, blah blah blah, and his student, you know, he's awesome, blah blah blah," and stuff like that. So, um, what is there as a narcissistic parent? I don't know.
That's great, man. Thank you
It's
so
all
much.
status.
It's not great. It's terrible you had to do that, but
Yeah.
that's exact. Because I think that, you know, when you say those kinds of things, I think it helps people understand like that terminology. And I think it's good that it sounds like you've been working with psychologists, so it's clear to me that
Yeah.
you're analytical. You know what you're talking about. You're pretty familiar with the stuff.
If there's something else I could add on it as well that maybe clarifies it, is they, I don't know, like I guess it's a little bit connected with like sociopath as well. Like they're very good at playing with people's emotion just for their own benefit.
What do you mean by that?
And so my mother played a lot of the victim card. She was like, "Oh, I'm," yeah, I don't know how much to go into details, but basically, she was like, "Oh yeah, it's poor me. I'm single mom raising YouTube kids." But literally, it was her choice doing it, and she's done a lot of really, really crazy things behind the scenes. I'm probably not gonna go into it here. I think, yeah,
yeah. Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
yeah, I'm glad you feel comfortable.
Damn, I want to know.
Saying, yeah, I don't feel comfortable talking about that. That's very important.
I am quite comfortable talking with it. I just, yeah, I think it doesn't fit so much. I don't know, like,
Dr.
it's
K
a little bit
seems
more
confused.
Yeah, I'll just stop myself there. I think
okay, sure.
It's yeah.
So, Will, just one point about that. I want you to feel very comfortable not talking about something that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if your thought is that it's not relevant, then I would question that, because I think the whole point of these conversations is that when people give me raw data instead of their analysis, I tend to be able to help them more, because if I get your analysis, I'm dealing with your biases and I can't form my own picture.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to pressure you into saying it. I want to be very clear about that. and we don't have to talk about it now. My point is that
well, I can talk about why I'm restricting myself a little bit. Let me just change battery on my headset. Just 1 second here. Okay, can I hear you?
Yeah, I hope so.
Perfect. Okay. It's because of the work related. I have probation, and that's why I'm thinking a little bit that way.
Let's just steer clear. Let's not even take a chance. Can you tell me about your older brother? You have one sibling?
Yeah, just one sibling.
Yeah. Can you tell me about him?
Well, he's a doctor. 5 years older than me. Probably the kindest brother I could ever wish for.
Really?
But yes, but I think he never ever really understood how I felt. I thought he did at one point when he called me one time and said, dude, so what was happening was I moved out, and what happened was my mom started projecting it towards my brother, which has never ever happened before. I was always the one taking it. All the shits that she had to project, or so, which I guess because I'm smaller and it's easier, and she portrayed me as the bad person because I never lived up to her demands and stuff like that. So when I moved out, he was calling me and he was like, shit, dude, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was this much. Like, I've been just experiencing this for 2-3 days, and I can't imagine you've been living this through your entire life. Yeah.
How does it feel to say that, Will? What are you feeling right now?
I felt that he understood at that point.
What do you feel now?
I don't know.
Like, as you say those words.
Yeah, I can still feel how I felt back then.
And what is that feeling? Tell us about that.
Oh, it's why am I here?
What do you mean?
It's like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I existing even? Like it. Yeah.
So So when your brother called you and told you that I can't believe you've been dealing with this your entire life, I've just been dealing it with 2 or 3 days, the way that you felt was, why am I here?
No. Oh, you mean at that point? Sorry. I thought you meant what the feelings of those feelings were. Sorry. Yeah. What that feeling was, I felt like, oh shit, finally my brother understands me.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Yeah. You can stop me also at whenever you want. Because I don't know.
Sure.
TS and stuff. But first time, I mean, I had suicidal thoughts already when I was like around 8. And I was really, really considering like, yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't. Yeah. I should have been dead, I guess, when I was like 12.
What do you mean by that?
The day
you
after,
should have been dead when you were 12.
Well, like, yeah, I tried to jump off a cliff, but in the end, I got flashbacks from my grandmother, which is the one and the main reason why I'm still alive, I guess. But I somehow managed to lunge myself back to safety again. But I was literally outside the cliff. And I talked to my brother the day after. I was like, yeah, I was supposed to be dead yesterday and stuff like that.
And what did he say?
So I don't remember really too much because it's like, because I talked a lot with my brother about the past and stuff like that as well, and we both have like kind of no memories of our childhood, like till we're 15 or something like that. But from what I think and from what I do believe and I remember is that yeah, he was like, oh shit, because he hasn't been really that good with talking with emotions.
Sure.
And I don't know how much he actually remembers, because I told him like a year ago, I was like, dude, I'm feeling so bad. I'm really at a bad point. And he was like, oh, it's just D vitamin. So it's I don't know if it's some doctor thing or if it's yeah, I don't know. But yeah.
So can I ask you, can you tell us a little bit about like pulling yourself back from the cliff? Why did you do that?
I got flashbacks from my grandmother that she would be crying so much and it would be very egoistic to do it. Actually, it was just a flashback of my grandmother crying. Let's see. And I managed to somehow launch myself back to safety.
Do you regret not jumping?
I don't know.
Good answer. I'm glad you didn't jump.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to not know, right, whether you made the right choice there or not. Is your grandmother still alive?
She is.
How's she doing?
Pretty bad right now. Which has also been a very major point on how it's affected me.
How long has she been pretty bad?
Well, I got to know the reason why she couldn't take care of me anymore when I was 8 years old onwards. She was in an accident, and after that, she just got bad all the way.
What does bad
But
mean?
it never. She had problem walking and stuff like that, and it just got worse and worse. And yeah, and I got after a while when I kept visiting her, right, and she got bad also in the memory and thought wise. So she confused me with my brother, even with my uncle and stuff like that. So it felt like I wasn't really meeting my grandma anymore. Like she was starting to
Oh
fade away.
How long has
man,
that been going on?
that must hurt to do it.
2 years.
2 years? Or 3?
When the accident or her memory part?
No, her memory.
2 years ish.
Okay.
2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And I got so much guilt. It takes me a while to get there, even to visit her, because it's in another city. And even when I visit her, the feeling is also not right, because she's just so confused and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I decided to, and which was so hard for me to do, but I decided to try to work with myself, and because I could barely even visit her as well, because I was at a pretty bad condition. But that led me to feeling even more guilt because I didn't visit her on top of that. So it was just a bad loop.
Yeah, you can never make it right
Else I
to
had.
everybody.
You felt like you were abandoning her?
It's really, really rough.
Yeah. I felt like the only one,
especially just
that I could trust in this
distance.
world. Yeah.
You felt like the only one you could trust in this world was her, and so what would you feel by when you sort of decided to work on yourself?
No, I knew I had to. I knew I had to. It was
What are you feeling right now, William?
Well, it's I don't know. It's
He's
it's
crying.
just that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a feeling I will never really get again, basically. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm imagining that you're kind of just remembering, how much she meant to you, and that.
Yeah, I think she was the only one that made me human, to be honest. Yeah. Or somewhat human, but yeah.
William, do you feel alone?
For sure. For sure.
Is that the main part of it?
I don't think so. I think there's so many other parts on it. I've been thinking about it too. If it is. But I think even if I can even be with friends and stuff like that and still feel lonely. It's just that I don't think I think there's so much more into it.
Tell us.
Well, I think I mean, when I've been in a relationship, I know what happiness can be. I don't have to fake it. I know how the world should be when you're a functional human. So I've touched upon that part, and
it's possible.
Yeah, but I think it was through distraction that I reached it. As a relationship, I think I've dealt with all my problems when I'm at the peak, like when I'm feeling good. But yeah.
How do you feel when you're feeling bad?
When I'm feeling bad, I don't have motivation. I have so many different kind of bad periods.
Sure.
So it depends on which one you mean.
So let's start by tell us the different kinds of bad. Excellent, excellent point on your part.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's already one of them. One I've been already telling is it's my childhood basically, and that was I didn't understand what function I even had to the world, why I was existing, because what I just heard from my mom was that she hates me and that I just take place in the world and that she doesn't even want me. And so I took the route.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, what
makes
struck
me so
me a
angry.
lot was like when a friend told me, like, dude, whose life are you actually living for? It's not even your life. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then that's kind of first time I opened up. But I was like living the life to try to pleasure my mom, basically, or to meet up her demands, which was never met anyways. It's been crazy how crazy that she really could never say thank you, or have never even heard her say I love you or stuff like that. That was totally out of the dictionary. It's more
Yo,
like when she
Milos.
told me to do things, it was always never good enough, no matter what I
That's
did. Like if I
brate.
vacuumed the house and she came home and saw it, she would scream at me and also say the way like you have not vacuum cleaned, right? As in intending that I haven't done it very much. Even though I might have still done it.
How old were you
said
when
it
she
in
had you vacuum the house?
Oh, 10? Yeah, I don't know, quite early. I did a lot. I did shopping. I helped her doing washing clothes. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Did she have any siblings?
Yeah, 2.
Older?
No, she's the oldest.
Did she have to help out a lot around the house?
I don't know how much. From the story, from what I understand, I'm not really sure. I haven't asked too much about it, and I don't remember who told me it, but it might be from her. So it might be very false, or I take everything she says with a very grain of salt.
Sure.
I can't really trust my mother, so I don't really. If it's from my mother, then which I think it is, she said that she took care of her siblings because parents were out and stuff. Like my grandpa was at prison, and my grandma had to take care of her or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, I don't know if she's mistaken there.
Wait.
She may be right that she took care of her siblings, and we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, different kind of bad. Sorry, I trailed off a little bit.
Yep.
So that would be like, yeah, I took detours. Oh yeah, and she made me do a lot of things that I. Okay, so this kind of bad. I'm trailing off a little bit too much here. I see. I'm just gonna try to talk about the bads. The bads were.
Wait.
Yeah.
You're doing fine, bro.
Okay. Yeah. So the bads were like.
You're doing actually really well.
Thank you. It's. I tried to always, when I was younger, I tried to always, make my mom happier, so the punishment would be less, verbally and stuff like that. So I always, when I came home, I looked if there were her shoes inside, so I could prepare what kind of state I could be in. And I can hear by her footsteps before, like if I were to play computer games, I had study materials next to me, so I would like shut off the screen and put it in front of me, just to make her not rage as much as she would towards me, just to prevent as much as I could, and try to even flatter her by some compliments and stuff like that. But so yeah,
That's horrible, man.
that kind of bad is like I try to
being in constant fear, just constant.
Not really.
It's crazy.
I didn't really discuss it at that time, but like I had to live through it and still feel bad about it in that punishment. And then there is later on, before I even talked a lot about this and managed this, I had a different kind of bad, as in everything was extremely heavy. No matter what I did.
You mean like physical heaviness?
And mentally, especially, like
you felt like your body was heavy?
Yeah. Everything I did. You described it really good when you say debuff. It really is a big debuff.
Yeah.
And it affects on everything. So
but
at that bad time
of debuff last?
Yeah, that debuff is, I have it right now.
Yeah.
It's a struggle.
Because it's been in periods and stuff like that. I felt it mostly when I broke up with my girlfriend. So that one lasted for, I would say, two years. But before that, I had gone through it for a very long time. But I think like I was living with it. So like my thoughts were, when I broke up with my girlfriend again, was like, holy shit, has it been this bad? Maybe because I was in quite a long time relationship, so I think I faded it out for like 5.5 years. And
do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 29.
Okay.
I was gonna ask the same question. I was gonna say he's in his 20s.
Yeah, I think I didn't really remember, but there's actually a lot of things there that I could also mention. Actually,
4 years ago. Okay.
Too, but
he's my generation.
Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I didn't understand how heavily I've been through it every day, because I think I got used to it so much at that time, even though I still know it's been really shitty. Like I even wrote a diary how often my mom would scream at my ear and telling me how useless I am and stuff like that. Even when I was begging or banging my head against the wall and screaming for her to stop, she would still continue to do that. So I wrote a diary how many times she does it at my probably worst period, and I stopped after like a week when I realized she did it on average 1 to 1.5 hours per day.
Wow, imagine, dude. Journaling, how you get screamed on. You know, listening to this, I get so many flashbacks. Like every second thing he mentions is like the same that my mother did, my parents did together. I would be bad at school. They would rage at me, and then I would do good and show them how good I do, and then they would laugh at me and make fun of me. How whatever it could be, right? Like next time you're not gonna be that lucky or something stupid along those lines. It was never enough, and always just being the laughing stock and the clown for them. So crazy, man. They would never take me serious. Not a single time in my life I was taken serious. Not a single time up until like now that I have moved out and have no contact with them. Dude, this is the pain that gets inflicted to a child, what it does to a child. These shits, man. They should not have children in the first place. This is just tragic.
Just screaming at these things and stuff like that. But yeah. Sorry, I lost a little bit of what I was.
That's cool, man. You don't. I think you're doing a really remarkable job of trying to keep track of the conversation. You actually need to keep track of it so much. I'm keeping track. Can I ask you a couple of other? So first of all, dude, it sounds like you've been through like you've just had a really shitty life.
Yeah, for sure.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine having your mom, like be banging your head against a wall, signaling to her in every way that you know how that you are distressed and that you are hurting, and that she doesn't give a shit and just keeps hurting you.
To be honest, I think she was actually enjoying it even more. There's a lot of things I've tried. I mean, I started even ignoring her. I tried to ignore technique because, I remember I talked to my grandma and said, "Dude, I think I can't last anymore. Like, I'm so broken, and I'm quite young when I'm saying this." I was like, yeah, because I was thinking about moving out already when I was like, 11, 12ish, and that's when I started ignoring her for 1.5.
I know, man. I know. When I was 11, 12, I also thought about like never seeing them again. I was 11 and already knowing that, already saying like, you're never gonna see my kids. You never, in this kind of like in this little age, already saying stuff like this. It's done. It's done.
Year as well. I tried so many different techniques just to try to see what works and what not. So even when we were living in the same roof, I ignored.
What happens to someone who tries a lot of techniques and none of them work?
Well, that's my other dark side. So these first that I'm talking about, like even though it still felt so heavy and stuff like that, I still felt like I knew I had possibilities to actually work with methods that would help me. Like I tried to discover a lot by myself how to improve and stuff like that, or visiting the psychologist and things like that. So I still kind of felt hope, but especially when it beat me again down to these bad loops, and especially when it went longer and longer, I felt more and more hopeless. Like, oh shit, maybe there is no way to go. Like I've done everything by the textbook. I've tried so many things. So that's my second bad, where I start to feel, because now I don't feel as heavy as before. Definitely not. But there has been periods, but they're not as heavy as before. Definitely not. Before I could think out, suicidal thoughts like 4 or 5 times per day. But now it's more, the way of it's hopeless, and I'm not getting anywhere.
Well,
I've tried a lot.
So I'm actually a little bit surprised that you're still alive. Is that weird to hear?
No. I actually say that to everyone I meet, that I share this story. Like, I don't know why I'm still alive. That's how I'm saying. I literally don't know why I'm still alive, and that's why I don't want to promise anyone as well. When it comes to them saying like, that's enough. But
I get you. So we're gonna think about. Can I collect my thoughts for a moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why are our generation parents such pieces of shit, man? So many of them. Whatever you do, it's not enough. It's always about status.
So let me start with this, William. I feel like I've asked you 2%
And it
of the
never
questions
changed,
that I want to ask,
never
and I
changed,
understand
never.
2% of what I want to understand about you.
Okay.
And at the same time, I feel like people come on here for answers. And so we have to take a step back and acknowledge that the answers are, I don't really have answers, but the thoughts that I have for you aren't going to be accurate because I really don't know. We've just scratched the surface of who you are.
Yeah.
At the same time, I want to share with you something that a patient of mine who had tried to commit suicide several times. And one day I asked him because he feels a lot the same way you do. And so I was like, so it sounds like you don't really have any like reason to live. Like why, you don't have hope, which is fair because you don't have any reason to hope. Right? Because like we just tell people like, oh, just like keep hoping, keep hoping. I think people who say that don't really understand what the lives of the people that they're talking to have been. Like I cannot, to be an 8-year-old child and yelling at your mom to stop and banging your head against a wall because what she's saying is hurting you, and for her to continue yelling at you for like 60 minutes or 90 minutes is just like, why the fuck? And then like, how many days can an 8-year-old hold on to hope with that happening? How many years can you hold on? Like, at some point the hope runs out. And I get that. I don't think it's reasonable for you to hope. And also, I want you to hope, and I hope that I can help you hope a little bit. And if I can't, that's okay too, because I don't think it's my place to believe that I can get you to hope. Does that make sense? Like, I'm going to give it a shot. But if you choose not to hope at the end of this conversation, like, that's totally cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with that. I'll be sad, but at the same time, like, I won't blame you for it, right? Because, like, why the fuck would you hope? Like, you've been doing this for 29 years, and, it sounds like whenever you start to claw your way forward, something just pulls you back. And what's pulling you back, I mean, I almost get the sense that you're swimming in the ocean and you have a cannonball attached to your legs, and you can work really, really, really hard to swim to the surface and get a breath of fresh air. And then you're kind of like, you're not pulling the cannonball up, but like anytime you start to slack a little bit, that cannonball is there, just drags you down. And I don't see a point in you continuing to try to swim to the surface if you can't ever get rid of the cannonball. Like that's just no way to win life, like live life.
Yeah.
So the question is, why do you live? And I don't mean that. I'll give you kind of an answer.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't mean like I don't mean that in a philosophical sense.
No, I get you though, because I've been thinking about that extremely much as well. One of them is I try to not be egoistic, or maybe that's the main reason. But that also runs out after a while. But yeah, basically, like even though what I feel as I feel, I know logically, like for instance, my brother would be devastated. And before that, like when my grandma was
the reason to live is always other people.
All that stuff is fine. I mean, like literally, like why are like so? I'm not saying. Okay, so let me tell you what
it always boils down to not wanting
so he's like,
to.
He tried to kill himself a bunch of times, and so like I was like, why don't you kill yourself? Like, why are you no longer suicidal? And he's like, he had suicidal thoughts, but he wasn't intending on killing himself. And then I asked him, why is that? And he's like, well, after the third or fourth time, I realized that as much as I wanted to kill myself, and I would try to kill myself, my body wouldn't let me. So literally the reason he's alive is not because he has a reason to live, but because there's literally a force within his body that keeps him from killing himself. And that there's something inside you that wants to live more than you want to die.
Right.
That is the reason I think you're alive. And
I do recognize with that as well.
Yeah, and it's fucking weird because you want to die, but there's something inside you that's like, no, man, we're not going to do that. Right? And in his case, like he literally realized that he was trying to kill his body. So there was some part of his being that was like putting pills into his mouth and trying to kill himself. And there was another part of his body that was like, this is bad for me, I don't want this, and he would vomit. And so one thing, and I don't mean this in sort of a philosophical or psychological sense. I mean, like literally, if we look at it scientifically, there is something within you that is striving for life. And that's the only, if we really look at it scientifically with all the shit that you've been through, if you haven't killed yourself, the reasons to kill yourself are like, let's give it a score of 1,000. And if you haven't died, that means that there's something inside you that is worth 1,001 fighting against that. Like, can we just acknowledge that for a moment? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think your way forward is in understanding, like, what the fuck is that? Right? Because if we can try, like, and I think you can talk about all of the things that are bad in your life and the different kinds of bad you experience. Fantastic. I think each of those are particular debuffs that you need to cleanse before you get healed. And I do think that you can get healed. And the reason that I think you can get healed is it's scientific. It's not hope. It's not philosophical. It's not even psychological. It's just that I see a guy who has something within his whole being of a person that wants to live more than you want to die. And I just don't think you understand what that is. And I think you've lived your whole life being confused about that thing. But as you begin to understand it, you'll actually find hope. But it's not going to come from like me telling you that life is, worth living, which I do think it is. And I do think you should continue to live. I'm glad you're alive. And I do have hope for you. I think you can be fully healed. Let me just say all of those things because I really do believe that. And
I think so too.
I think it comes from, it starts with the exploration of like, and I think you're in the right spot. Like, you're like, why am I here? And it's not a rhetorical question. That doesn't mean I don't have any reason to live, although that could be true. But the question is, if you have no reason to live and yet you continue to exist and you have no reason to be there, there has to be a reason why you're here. And finding that thing is going to be the start of your journey. Right? So like we have to accept as a fact that you are here.
Yeah.
And that like, this is the other thing. Now we get philosophical because I think like there's order in the universe. Like I think things happen for a reason. And I don't mean that in terms of like a divine reason. I mean like literally, if I hold this pen and I let go, it's going to fall. It fell for a reason. Like if there's rain, that means that there are going to be clouds, right? That there's like order and rhythm to the universe. And that if you're alive, like I don't think that order in the universe breaks down at some arbitrary point, which is what a lot of people who claim to be scientific believe, right? So they sort of say that, yeah, there's like an order to clouds and rain and stuff, but there's not an order to life. They just sort of draw this arbitrary dividing line, which in my mind, let me know if I'm losing you or if this is getting abstract. Are you following what I'm saying?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I think that there's a reason that you're alive.
Yeah.
And I think we have to explore kind of what that is. The second thing is, in terms of your question of can you be healed, I think they're fully healed. Yeah, I think so. Although, maybe not. Let me think about that for a second.
What the fuck? Oh, God. Listening to him now, it's like he's talking to me, So same goes, it's like I'm the guy. It's like I'm the interview. So many similarities. And for me right now, it's hard to follow Dr. K, I must be honest. Yeah, let's see what he has to say.
I think you can be healed enough to where you can no longer want to die and you will cling on to life.
And that is the thing, you can never be healed. But everybody says you're gonna get better, but you're never gonna get healed. It is a part of you. It is a gift that they gave you. The gift of depression. And you can never get rid of it. The only thing that you can do is learn how to handle it. And that is what therapy is for. And yeah, I guess that's the best outcome. Just wanting to live.
I do believe you can be fully healed as well, but as a clinician and a scientist, I can't put my money on fully healed, but I do feel comfortable putting my money on healed enough.
Yeah, so if you would put
and
a
healed
percentage
enough
on it,
is
how much would it be?
Most of the time
80%.
enough.
80%. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was guessing around 80, 90 myself as well.
Yeah. I think 90 is a little bit optimistic. Like, do I believe it's possible? Sure. But I'd put my money on 80.
Yeah.
And I want to hear a little bit more about like, your backslide and when you started feeling better and stuff. But even before we go there, I'll share a couple of thoughts if that's okay with you. Do you want to jump in and say anything or ask questions, by the way?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you a couple of thoughts, and then I want to ask you a little bit about how you started to feel better and now how you feel worse.
Okay.
So I think the problem with getting fully healed is that like you think about getting fully healed as like 80%, but it's not really 80%. It's did you ever play Fallout?
No.
Okay. So in Fallout, you have like different body parts, and you can like target and damage different body parts, right? And then like depending on what you damage, you like lose some ability. Like if someone like wounds your leg, then your movement speed is reduced. If they wound your arm, you can't shoot things, And so I think when we talk about 100%, I don't know if you can get 100%, but I think you can like heal your leg and like have the movement debuff gone. And so I think it's actually in a weird way optimistic that you have a lot of different kinds of bad. Because if it was just one blob of bad, like I don't know what to do about that. But the feeling of loneliness is like a particular thing that I think you can improve. The feeling of motivation, I think, is a particular thing that you can improve. And the feeling of hopelessness, I think, is a particular thing that you can improve. I think the feeling of being extremely heavy, which hits you for 2 years at a time, is a particular thing which you can improve. And I think all of these things are maybe related in some way, but I think they're discrete things. So, for example, your feeling of extreme heaviness sounds to me like clinical depression. It sounds like you suffer from something called neurovegetative depression. And the cool thing is that we have good scientific evidence that there may be mental health treatments that you can engage in, which will drastically reduce the hurt from that thing. The feeling of loneliness, I think, also is something that we can address. The feeling of, oh, and this is the big one, is worth. Like, you literally have not been taught that it's okay for you to exist. Like, I don't know how else to put that. But like, literally, you were taught that it's not okay for you to exist. So
and if somebody tells you now while you're an adult, it doesn't matter.
Sense of self that it's like okay for me to be here right now, right? Like they walk up to you and they're like, "Daddy, can I have food?" Because they have a presumption that like it's okay for me to be here. It's okay for me to walk up to my dad, and it's okay for me to ask him for food if they feel hungry. Like you were actually the most devastating thing is you were not given like a baseline permission to exist as a human being. And so I don't know how you're going to find why you exist if you're not even allowed to exist in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like you don't even deserve to have air to breathe, is like what you were told. So it sort of starts, and this is where I think like, fully healed, maybe we can actually like, we can crit heal you to like 100%. I think that's possible. Unlikely, but possible. And what the crit heal looks like is for you to have a basic sense that you are allowed to belong in the world. And I think you've got to be careful because you're saying, I don't feel like I belong. I think that's even the reason that you haven't made progress is because I think you're not really meeting yourself where you're at. It's not even that like, why do you belong? That's not even like, that's one step ahead. It's, are you even allowed to belong in any way, shape, or form? That's the first question you've got to answer. Because I think right now in your head, there's a part of you that the answer is no.
Yeah.
Like you don't deserve to be here at all.
By the way, it's like he's talking to me, guys. It's like he's talking to me.
Yeah, so I have thought about that as well a lot. So I try to really live in the now. So I try to be very neutral on that point. But before that, yes, 100%. But now I still try to be very neutral, and I would say, yeah, I don't know where I'm at that point. I probably wouldn't say no or yes.
So William, yeah. I'm tempted to go down this road with you, but I think it could be hard for you to understand because I don't know how to explain it adequately. And I think we're going to lose our viewers even more, but I'm going to give it a shot. Is that okay?
Okay.
So let's start with the idea that you don't even deserve to be here in any way, shape, or form. Forget about why am I here? It's like you're not allowed to be here to begin with. With me there?
Okay.
Okay. So why am I here is a question that's like for level 2. Level 1 question is, do I get to be here? With me?
Yeah.
Then you said, okay, so that was the question where you used to ask yourself, do I even get to be here? Do I get to spawn in at all? Or do I like sit in the lobby and like never get to spawn in and don't get to play the game? Like why I'm playing the game is a separate question. Do I even get to spawn in? With me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you said you started being in the present. And the more that you're in the present, it sounds like it's easier to get away from the question of, do I get to spawn in at all? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Now let me ask you a question. Is being in the present, does that give you, do you feel like you have permission to exist, or do you distract yourself from the question of whether you have permission to exist?
Probably distracting myself from the question, I would say, yeah.
Okay. I hope people are able to follow that. Because that's really important, right? Because what I think your perception of sliding back is, which in turn is going to make you hopeless, right? So the more that you feel like you're moving forward and you slide back, the more your hopelessness is
that he never gets an answer to this one question.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I think that the reason that, and you're right to be hopeless because that's not actually getting healed. That's like getting shielded, right? And so a shield sort of gives you the same effect as healing, but it's not really healing. Because when the shield goes away, like you're back to square one. And then you start to ask yourself, can I get healed? When actually what you're doing is you're distracting, which is like a shield. It's bonus hit points. It's not actual healing.
Yeah.
So now I have to think, even if that's the case. So I feel like I understand you. Now I have the problem of where do we go from here? So I'm going to need a second. Do you have questions?
No.
Okay,
right
that
now.
would help me a lot if you did, but.
Well, you can ask me questions if there's something unclear.
No, I mean, there's a lot that I want to know about you, but I feel like we're on the same page that, your attempts to get better aren't really getting you better, which I agree with.
Okay.
I just don't know how to heal you. Which I have to, just give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to think out loud. Right, so you don't even deserve to exist. So how do we help you understand that you deserve to exist? And do we want to ask you more questions about... So the safer route is probably we just ask you more questions about how you came to know that you don't deserve to exist.
Because his mother told him.
We can just try to give you an experience of you taking your existence for granted, and for you to understand and sit and feel within yourself that you deserve to be here.
Something to add on as well,
Yeah.
that might give you it. So I think this with the existence part, I think that also is very much connected to the loneliness that I feel like even when friends say that, oh yeah, you mean a lot to me and stuff like that. It's kind of like I don't really believe them. But I do have worked with a lot of self-compassion and taking like
William, do you feel like a
better,
ghost in the real world?
I have done like that extremely many times, yes. Like where I disassociate myself, well, extremely much. Like even when I'm at a party with friends that are close to me and everybody's happy, I just wonder like, what am I doing here? Oh, right, I have to fake my happiness around them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah, the ghost thing is, yeah, it's very. It has been many of that times, yes.
Yeah, sorry for derailing you. So you were saying, your friends have... Yeah, I'm just getting the sense that like it's like you're playing a game where you're like, you can interact with NPCs and stuff, but you're like ethereal. You're not like a real character.
Mm.
And it's like the NPCs are sort of there and you're interacting with them, but you don't... I mean, it makes sense to me that you can't understand. So it sounds like you're not confused, but you really can't digest, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, that you bring value to other human beings. Is that fair? Like you don't... Like you sort of get what they're saying, but like it doesn't...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't...
Okay, this might not be the best one of Dr. K, I have to say. But what he says, all of it rings for me and hits something. I realized that I bring something to people, or it was very, very important for me that I realized this, that I would make people happy. And that was when I realized that how other people made me happy, then why shouldn't there be a situation in which I cannot be that person for another person? And so I get that, right? And also having a mother tell you, and if it's a piece of shit mother and you know it from top to bottom, man, you can disregard it like this in a second. It doesn't matter anything at all what she says. It doesn't matter at all. So it's a little bit of inner work, just a lot of thinking you have to be doing. But yeah, I would love actually for him to say that to him now.
Can't digest it. Like it's not...
Yeah.
Right. It's like they can't touch you. Like their hand just goes right through.
And I know it's rough because it's your mother, like.
And I think that comes back because you haven't like zoned into the world yet. Like you have to be like in the world and like existing there and understand that you're there for other people to be able to affect you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the stuff that people have tried isn't working. Like the reason you can't get healed is because you don't have a physical body. Right? You got to zone in first and like not be a ghost, and then you can like get HP back. But it comes with this basic... It comes to the basic idea that you do not belong in this world. And to me, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But when I was in a relationship, I did touch upon the world.
Spam random stuff in TikTok chat.
None of these thoughts has
so we don't get
anything
offline.
like that. I like the colors of the world. Just I appreciated it so much more, like autumn colors and stuff like that. Like all small things, like because before that I really faked a lot. Like fake it till you make it. I faked my posture and things like that to be happy. But when I was in the world, I didn't even have to fake it. I could see it all, and it became super clear for me. Yeah.
So you're like a ghost that had incarnated, and like ghosts see the world in shades of gray, and they pretend, but you would become a person. So it's actually great that you went there, because my next question was going to be, can you tell me about your relationship? Can you tell me about your relationship?
how it was, or
Sure. Like, how'd you meet?
5 years relationship is
It's a
big.
girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only had one
Well,
relationship
technically,
for 1
yes,
year,
friends.
and that's it.
Through friends. I'm thinking there was one time we met earlier face to face, but through friends. Yeah.
Tell me about her.
But there were some things that she noticed, which I filtrated totally, right? Not really sure why I even, because every time I've had a girlfriend and talked and tried to introduce them to my parents, or I don't remember why I did it, or if it was my mom forcing me to do it. I don't really remember why, but they were all super terrified with it. Which I have.
They all are super terrified. Who's they?
The girlfriends I've had,
Okay.
the different ones, yeah. And but the one I was with in a very long time, she noticed also how toxic my mom was towards me, and I thought I didn't even think anything of it because that was such a kind of
Normal thing.
low tier toxicness, so to say, where I didn't even.
That's your mom being nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't like that was so out of my filtration. But she mentioned that night, she was like, dude, I got so infuriated. I wanted to like kind of scream back at her or punch her. But I didn't even notice that. And she had to highlight that because usually it's so much worse.
Who said I want to scream at someone?
My girlfriend at that time.
So she felt like screaming at your mom?
Yeah.
And punching her?
Yeah, at my mom, because my mom was trash talking me so much.
What was she saying? Do you remember?
Like, so I was doing the cooking and stuff like that. And yeah, working and stuff like that. So she said, I think she said something along the line like, "Oh, I hope you take care of him. He's so useless. He doesn't even know how to cook and take care of himself, and things like that." But yeah, it got totally out of my radar. I didn't even think of it that much.
How does it
it's
feel
normal
to
for
have
him.
someone who wants to defend you like that?
It felt nice. Like it felt really nice because in that time, as I said, I was really living the world, and I think that's maybe why I also filtrated her talk even better than ever. Because I guess no matter if I ignore her and stuff like that, it still sips in through my ears, no matter what. No matter what I do, and even if I pretend not to hear her or put like earphones and earplugs in my ears, they still go through. I still get affected by it. But there, I didn't even care about it. So
sure. And so tell me about, you guys were together for 5.5 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, and we actually moved in immediately, even together. But yeah, we talked a lot before and met before that as well.
And when did y'all break up?
3 years ago.
And were you happy for the time that y'all were together?
Yep. Yeah.
What ended up happening? Did you feel like you had substance, or were you still a ghost?
I realized also I picked up a lot of things. Like I realized, but I don't know exactly at what order it becomes. But I realized I picked up some toxicness from my mom that I said to her, and she said it back to me. Like I think I realized my toxicness and stopped myself, but then I realized that she was quite toxic in the same way as my mom would be.
How so?
In a different way. I mean, it was a little bit more toxic relationship in the end that killed it, I would say.
What was toxic about your relationship?
Or it was actually much more onto that than that. There was some things we didn't really agree on, and
like what? So William, here's what I'm trying to do. So I'm seeing the beginning of your relationship where you're happy. There's someone who cares about you, is defending you, and I'm wondering like what happened to that relationship.
Yeah, I think it started fading out. It like a reference point, like it faded out more, and it started becoming heavy being in the relationship too. In the end, like it really did. Like something I kind of googled because I tried a lot because I think I have like fear of abandonment and stuff like that. So I tried a lot to get this relationship to work. We even broke up like 3 times. The third time I really got the courage to really end it. But it took more. Maybe it was things from the past that got back to me again, but it took more to actually be in the relationship. Like it consumed so much more energy.
What
and
became hard about the relationship?
He's dodging the question.
Everything. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense, but it's yeah. And we didn't really see like we did before as well, like the like the
It just
sparks
ended.
of being in a
So
relationship.
I'm getting a
and stuff
lot
like
of
that.
vagueness from you. I'm getting a lot of
So much
conclusions
vagueness. Yeah.
and a lot of vagueness.
Yep.
And I really don't
Yeah.
understand. You gave me a lot of color and substance to the beginning of your relationship.
Yeah,
But
for
I'm
sure,
not
it was
seeing a
really
whole
good.
lot of color and substance at the end. You call it toxic,
Yeah,
but
we
I don't
tried.
understand
Yeah,
how
so
it's toxic.
we tried to. So
The subtitles
I
are
tried
horrible.
to get it to work for a long time because
What
that's
what
what you
were
hear.
you trying to get to work?
Our relationship. To
But
work
he can't say what it is.
that we had.
What was not work? So what I'm hearing very clearly is your efforts
He just
and the
can't.
hopelessness. But I'm not hearing like what the problem was.
There was like, for instance, we didn't agree on like the dividing parts of like fixing the house, cleaning, cooking, like those trivial things.
Man.
And
Imagine that destroying
And tell me, how did you guys disagree about that?
your relationship.
well,
William, why did you want to break up with her?
There was a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons.
Dr. K doesn't understand. Look at his face.
To more complex. But yeah,
Like what?
to sum it up, it was like consuming more energy than actually
Don't sum
giving.
it up. Tell me why.
There, I don't know how personal it is. Like I don't want to say it without her permission and stuff like that.
Oh,
as well.
okay, that's totally fine. That's completely.
So
different.
yeah, it's too hard for me to actually say it here.
Okay, but you know what they are.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, for sure. Because I was the one proposing to even break up to and stuff like that. Yeah. So I kind of raised those things to get it to work, but it didn't. So that's why I was like, yeah.
So can you tell me what you said after a couple of years it started to become harder? Like what became harder?
To be in the relationship.
Yeah, so what about the relationship became hard?
Yeah, but I mean to even I don't know, it felt like it hindered me a lot too. Like she was so shy, so whenever we had to meet friends, I had to be the one contacting and stuff like that. And I started irritating about these stuffs as well. Like there was a lot of things I started to get irritated about and stuff like that as well.
Did you feel like she wasn't pulling her weight in the relationship? Like she wasn't doing her fair share?
Yes, definitely. That's one of the bigger ones.
Well, that's one of the bigger reasons. Can you just map out the other bigger reasons? Like, once again, you don't have to say anything that you're concerned about.
Yeah,
I mean, is that okay to share with us, or is that not okay to share? Well, first, because I don't want you to say things that you don't want to say. But like, if I'm
I'm gonna skip that because I want her permission first. I'm not gonna touch on this. Yeah.
Let me say this.
But we went on a psychologist to get it to try to fix it as a couple.
Oh wow, that's good for you.
Yeah, we really tried a lot of things. But yes.
Have you been dating?
Now?
Yeah. You guys broke up 3 years ago, right?
Yeah. I've been on some dates, and yeah, I have. Yes.
And how's that been?
Somewhat disappointing. But yeah, but one of them was quite nice, I would say. But I don't think it's gonna lead to anywhere. Yeah.
Why not?
Because she doesn't really want to have anything serious.
And you are looking for something serious?
Yeah, I would say so. But I've been thinking a lot about just being happy and stuff like that too. In the relationship. So that's kind of what we agreed on now, as we are where we are. But yes.
Okay.
What the fuck?
But yeah, I would definitely want a more serious.
William, so what can I help you with?
I would want to hear. I actually got a lot of inspiration from your community. It's an awesome community. So I'm actually digging into which, sparked some more new hopes for me as well. And I've actually done something else that has made me feel so much better now as well. So I'm actually more at the, it's been good, but yeah. I guess the future will tell.
What have you been? So it sounds like you started feeling better after, because at the very beginning you said you started feeling better after being like active in our community, then you started to slip back. So that slipping back was even before, or even in the community. But I tried an SSRI alternative, which helps a lot.
So he's on medication.
So yeah, that just lifted me up a lot.
Fuck, man. Fucking medication, dude.
I found something that correlates to me a lot.
With medication, you can never tell, are you healed? Are you getting better? It's just a mask. It's so stupid, dude.
Linked some C-PTSD, if you know what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and it resonates extremely much with me.
Yep.
So I'm actually reading a book about it now. So
Good.
In hopes, and so far 40, 50 pages in, and I feel like it's describing me literally.
Yep.
So
What's the book?
I want to know the book.
It's called C-PTSD, so from surviving to thriving.
I want it.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. There it is. I find this as a audiobook maybe. Man.
Okay, so can you tell me when did you start to get better? Because it sounds like you started getting better recently. So it sounds like there was.
It was when I took this alternative.
Yeah, good.
I don't know if it's better. It just removes the debuff, so to say. But I don't know what happens if I stop it, or like the wound is still there, which I have to heal, right? So it's going to be interesting to see when I stop doing that for a while what's going to happen as well.
So I'm confused. Are you feeling better nowadays?
I am feeling better when I've started taking it. Yes.
How long have you been taking it?
1.5 months.
Okay. And so it sounds like you now, and your psychologist is aware that you have C-PTSD or no?
I actually called her up and mentioned it when I got to know about it, and we actually took a session again and stuff like that, because she was not really surprised if I've fallen back, but I told her that I've fallen back to battle tracks and stuff like that. But
wait, I'm really confused. Have you fallen back, or are you doing better?
I'm sorry. I feel after I'm taking the alternatives, I feel better. Like I have energy to do things now.
Yep.
It's not a big weight. I can't even do my hobbies. I can't even game. I couldn't even game before. Like I got disgusted by me playing even because anything I did was just horrible. So even though when I forced myself to do things, I couldn't.
He's in the situation I am right now. So I actually looked up a clinic that also prescribes medication, and I got an appointment with them, but in like 4 months. So what am I gonna do up until 4 months? And also, do I even want to take medication? But I was thinking it should be like the last resort for me, and the number one reason why I would want to take anything that just lifts my mood and makes me be able to work again is because I want to be able to work again. Because I actually have a bunch of stuff that I want to do, and it's just I don't have I just can't do it. It's like it's so heavy. It's like he's saying, it's like I'm him, dude. It's crazy. I'm really glad we watched this one. So many similarities. How do I get through this now for 4 months? Like, what am I gonna do?
But now I actually can do things.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, I am better. But I wonder if I'm better only because I'm taking them, and then when I stop, I come back exactly where I was before. Like,
and is that what I can help you with? So what can I help you with?
I was wondering if you knew where to go next.
Fantastic.
From my point of view, yeah.
Okay. And that I can certainly help you with. Okay. So first of all, William, it sounds like you're doing better.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you is fear that the only reason you're doing better is because you have this artificial medication that's tampering with your neurochemistry and that you're not actually doing better.
Mm-hmm.
So now let me tell you what healing looks like. Okay. So like, I guess what I'm hearing from you is, can I still get healed, or is this another shield?
Yeah.
Like, because the medication feels like a shield, and that's, I think, exactly what it is. And can you be fully healed? And maybe what you're looking for me is direction in how to get fully healed, or how to get healed. And what's the role of medication? How do you move forward? And the short answer is that I think, okay, so here we go. Okay. And then I'll give you a chance to ask questions, and then maybe we'll meditate, and then we'll wrap up. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to start by sharing with you something called Panchakosha theory, which is Kosha means sheath, like what you put a sword in, like a sheath, and then Panch means 5. So the idea here is that you have 5 layers of being. So when we think about William is like has a physical body, and then William also has thoughts. Like those are separate things, right? Like if you lose an arm, are you still William?
Yep.
If you have a body, and then unfortunately, like your grandmother, it sounds like she's got dementia, and it's a terrible thing to deal with. She has a physical body, but like who she is as a person has sort of slipped away, right? So do you see that like who a person is not like mind or body? It's like mind plus body plus actually other stuff. So a couple thousand years ago, yogis or Ayurvedic physicians called Vaidyas, unclear exactly what they were, said that basically there are 5 layers of being. So the first layer of being is physical, the second is energetic, the third is emotional, the fourth is intellectual, and the fifth is spiritual. And I think in order for you to be healed, you've got to get like healing done on all of those levels. Okay, so let's talk about each of your problems. I wonder if I should draw this out. Can you hold on a second? I'm going to go grab. Do you want iPad? Do you want diagrams? Plans? Sure. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Yeah. Let's just take a quick break. Run to the restroom if you need to. I'm going to grab water, and then I'm going to grab my iPad. Okay, can you see? We good to go? I'm going to check in with Twitch chat. Can you all see that? Okay. All right. So, William, your question is how do you get fully healed, right?
Yeah, and where... Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I'm going to tell you how you can get fully healed. Okay. So, it starts with this. Panchakosha, okay? So, you have physical, energetic, and what I'm going to do is break down your quote-unquote diagnosis amongst these. And so you're going to see how all of the things that are wrong with you, all, but that's grandiose. So I'm going to show you the different, essentially you've got like 5 layers. And what's going on is that each of your layers has been attacked and damaged in different ways. So the process of full healing actually requires you to heal each of these layers, and it requires you to heal each of the layers. And then the other problem that I'll try to show you is why you feel hopeless, because the things that you're healing are actually not on the layer that the damage was done. And I'll explain what that means, okay? So the first thing is you have this sense of sluggishness, right? So let's do like diagnosis here, okay? And then let's do like treatment over here. So if we think about sluggishness, do you think that that's physical, energetic, emotional, intellectual, or spiritual? Your body being
energetic.
Heavy.
Physical.
Okay, so sluggishness.
I don't know. Actually, no. Wait. Wait. It's energetic.
Very good. So it's actually on more than one.
And
okay. Yeah. So let's think about so does talking to your psychologist help you with your feelings of sluggishness?
If it helped, yes.
Does it?
I mean, it came back again.
Okay.
But so not as heavy as before as well.
Okay. So this is a good example of like if we have emotional treatment here. So if we do medication, that gives us a lot of healing, right? If we do talk therapy, so that's actually the emotional mind, right? So if we do emotional treatments for physical problems, we get a little bit of benefit. But do you see how medication helps way more than talking about your feelings?
Mm-hmm.
So the other interesting thing, okay, so we'll get to that. So the other thing that you can do is, have you ever done Qigong or Pranayam? Do you meditate with us on stream?
I've meditated for a while, yes.
Okay, so there are some kinds of meditation that are called pranayam, or in the Chinese system. What's your ethnicity, by the way?
Yeah, it's Chinese.
And what part of the world are you in?
Sweden.
Okay, so like if you do pranayam or qigong, these are specifically meditative practices that are aimed at boosting your energetic self or your qi or your prana. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not like meditating on, the nature of things or stuff like that. It's not an intellectual meditation. It's like an energetic meditation. So if you guys have ever heard of the Wim Hof method, have you ever heard of Wim Hof?
No.
Breathing techniques.
So Wim Hof is this guy who learned this like form of, I think, Tibetan meditation, where like he can now do things that are physically impossible in terms of like resisting cold. So he'll go and like sit in
that guy.
Yeah. And so the thing is like what he does is like physically not possible. You can't be in hypothermic water for an hour and like not lose fingers, but that's literally what Wim Hof is capable of doing. What Wim Hof does is pranayam. So like this shit absolutely works. There's also data that suggests that doing pranayam actually makes you resistant to heart attacks, which I can go into the physiology of like how that works. But because it's actually really fascinating. The point is that you can actually do things through pranayama and qigong that will boost your energy. I don't know how else to put it, but like when you feel sluggishness, if I were to do blood tests, I may find vitamin D being low, right? So that's an example of something that leads to depression. Low level vitamin D levels lead to depression. It's possible that you're vitamin D deficient, but you just feel sluggish. If I take you to a doctor and they listen to your lungs and I take you to like an orthopedic surgeon and I get him to like test your strength, nothing is physically going to be wrong with your body. You get that when you're sluggish?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
something, it feels like literally like your sluggishness is an energy problem. And there are some techniques, what the yogis realize is like there are some techniques that you can do to boost your energy because you're not doing something physical. It's like they're working specifically on the energetic body. Another good example of this is yoga or Tai Chi. And there are studies that show that yoga and Tai Chi is superior to exercise at treating things like arthritis. And if you go to people who are experts in yoga and you ask them, why do you think that yoga is superior to exercise? Because in both of them, you're moving, right? So like, why is yoga superior to Tai Chi in some clinical trials? There's a great paper by, for example, Chen Wang in the New England Journal of Medicine from like 2010, 12, where she does a trial on osteoarthritis and compares Tai Chi to exercise and finds that Tai Chi is superior. And so the question is, if both of these are physical practices, scientifically, how is it that Tai Chi outperforms exercise? Because you're moving your body in both cases. Does that make sense? Like how that, you should get the same effect. But clearly, scientifically, we are finding that Tai Chi is not the same as exercise. And if you ask Tai Chi masters, what they say is, yeah, it's because we work on an energetic level, not just the physical one. What does that mean? No one has any fucking idea. Like scientists have been trying to find evidence of Chi or Prana and they've never been able to find it. All we know is that when you design a practice that's based on this hoity-toity, unscientific principle of energy, it actually outperforms purely physical practices. That is a scientific fact. So my point is that in terms of healing yourself, you can do these things, okay? And what that's going to do over time is when you take out the medication, you're going to lose the benefit of the medication. You with me?
Yep.
But if you do these things in the meantime, this is going to make a very slow plus. Very, very slow. And if you do this for 6 months and then you stop medication, you're going to have like a plus that's left over. And you'll do better without medication. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically,
medication
the thing about energetic
supposed to be a
practices in
bridge.
pranayama is that they're going to heal you. It's like a regeneration buff. You're going to heal like 1 hit point every week.
It's like a hot.
And so if that's all you do when you're feeling super depressed and sluggish, it's not going to be fast enough for you to notice any difference. With me?
Yep.
I can't see your face now. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, it's because I have the iPad pulled up.
Gotcha.
So, actually, but maybe, yeah, I have to have it pulled up. But at the same time, it is going to heal you over time. The other problem is that if you are sluggish, you're not going to have the time or energy to be able to do yoga or pranayama. Does that make sense?
I was just about to say, dude.
So what we have to do is start with medication so that you feel more energy, and then you use that shield or the artificial energy boost of medication to start to do other things that are going to lead to more long-term healing.
Oh, okay.
You good with
That's
that?
a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to talk about other things. So then, okay, so this is fine, but is your problem restricted to physical and energetic stuff? No. Where does C-PTSD go? And we'll explain what that is in a second. Where do you think C-PTSD fits? On the left.
Like emotional?
Absolutely. Okay. So let's explain what C-PTSD is. Can you tell us what it means?
Complex PTSD.
And what makes something complex PTSD versus regular PTSD?
An event that continuously happens over a period of time rather than just one event.
Excellent. So let's say that, I'm walking down the street and I walk past some of the riots that are going on, and a police officer shoots a rubber bullet, and I'm carrying my groceries, which actually happened to a lady, and the bullet hits me in the face, and, even people have lost eyes and stuff. So that's a one-time event that leads to post-traumatic stress disorder. All you need is a single event to end up with post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects people in particular ways. It's characterized by flashbacks, nightmares, things like that, but their intrinsic sense of self is not necessarily destroyed by a singular event, right? Because if I walk down the street and I'm Dr. K and I feel confident in who I am as a human being, and something traumatic happens to me, that's terrible, and it could destroy me as a human being, but it doesn't have to destroy me as a human being. What complex PTSD is when trauma happens to you over and over and over and over again. So when William tells us that he is an 8-year-old boy who is screaming at his mom to
I have
stop and
C-PTSD.
banging his head against a wall, and she continues to yell at him for an hour and a half, and that shit happens day after day after day after day, that is a whole different ballgame from being shot once or being robbed or being raped or whatever. That's complex PTSD.
So many people have it then.
So
because
now
their
let's think
childhood was
about
fucked
what are
up.
the treatments of complex PTSD.
Because it's a
What do you
generational
think
thing.
medication is going to do for that?
It just gives you this temporary buff that we talked about, like
right. So that's kind of like talking for emotions, or talking like acting on an emotional level for a physical problem only gives you like 1 point of healing. Does that make sense? And so medication for an emotional problem only gives you 1 point of healing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So
I want. Could I add something as well?
Sure.
So I think what we tried to cure was like regular PTSD, so to say, with my psychologist. But and that's why I guess it caused so much confusion. Why I'm still feeling as I did and stuff like that.
Excellent. So you took the next part right out of my mouth. The real truth is that complex PTSD doesn't go here. It goes here. And this is where PTSD goes. Because with what complex PTSD, what happens is that your sense of a human being gets fucked. That's a spiritual problem. This goes back to Ghost. Why am I here? Right? That's not emotions. Do I deserve to live? Does that make sense? Like, that's not an emotional issue. That's like a spiritual issue.
Yeah,
what do you think about that? Huh?
Yeah, it makes totally sense because it's I mean, it didn't really help me. So to
Exactly.
say.
So this is why talk therapy is going to be 1+, 2+, or 3 pluses. What do you think?
Okay, it makes sense.
1+. Right? So your psychologist can help you here if you had regular PTSD. But the psychologist is only going to be a 1+ over here. And this is the biggest problem that I think, actually your psychologist can help you with 3 pluses, but they have to do that kind of work. So this is the biggest problem that I see with like a lot of quote unquote mental health diagnosis is that like, so the reason that I'm an effective psychiatrist is because I actually don't do a whole lot of psychiatry. What I do is a lot of spiritual work because I think people like you, when I said that at the core of your problem, William, is that like you don't even know if you deserve to live. So we can deal with the suicidality and the negative emotions and shame and all that shit. All of that stuff is over here, right? So this is shame, feels bad, man. Right? That's all emotional stuff. And now we get to another problem, which is that you're an analytical guy. So what you try to do is essentially like you use analytical treatments for emotional problems. And this is the worst, is that when you ask yourself, like when you have this feeling of being a ghost, right? And then what happens is you start asking yourself questions about, do I deserve to be here? You start to use your analytical mind to solve a spiritual problem. And that doesn't actually get you shit. Or maybe 1+. Does that make sense?
This is the reason why I can't really listen to it as well. Like the emotions as I feel.
What do you mean? Say more about that.
So like I try to listen to my emotions. Why am I feeling sad and shit right now? But it's more like a constant noise, and it's more because it's on the spiritual level rather than the emotional.
Or either one. So an analytical approach to your emotions is going to get you, even if it's emotional, the analytical approach is not going to help very much. And if it's spiritual, it's not going to help very much. The whole reason that people like you have trouble getting fully healed is because your treatments do not line up with the sources of your problem. Right? For a physical problem, you need a physical treatment. For an energetic problem, you need an energetic treatment. For an emotional problem, you need talk therapy. For complex PTSD, you need to figure out, why am I here and how do I deserve to live? That's not going to happen through talk therapy. That's going to happen through something like meditation.
Dude, this opens my eyes so much. And I do strongly believe that I was suffering all my life from C-PTSD. But I've spent a lot of years curing myself. And it's not that I've become... Fuck, how do I say this? Let's say this is baseline, yeah? This is like 0, neutral. And if bad... Let's see. If bad is here... You guys can't see my hands. It doesn't matter. Imagine there is a scale. And right now I am on 0 at the scale in terms of the C-PTSD and my understanding of the reason of why I want to live. When before, though, a few years ago, it is actually still going on, but it's like less and less and less. Before that, I would be in the negative, way in the negative. And now I'm at 0, and I feel good at 0. Right? I do understand what makes me go into the positive, and sometimes I do dip into the positive. And I understand when I make people happy and why people would be happy, because the same goes for me the other way around. I understand it. I can empathically think myself to be in the shoes of another person, and that is a skill that I had to learn, and that it was not so easy to grasp. But this makes so much sense. This 5 layers thing, I like it very much. And right now I'm trying to figure out what exactly is my current problem. And I think it goes back to the C-PTSD, where I'm close to 0, but I'm dipping a little bit back into the negative again. Because that's my base. My base is I'm not worthy, I'm bad, I'm shit. All the shit, years of damage done by my parents. Years. And not only emotional, but then there was physical abuse as well. Right? So this is so interesting for me. I'm so glad we're watching this. Wow, man. It's a generational thing, I believe. People having C-PTSD, honestly. Because if that's just the definition, dude, everybody has it, honestly. It's an ongoing problem throughout all of your childhood. On top of that, I have a mix of PTSD as well, because I've been in a shitload of trauma, accidents where people die, and I was in rooms with people dying, and I saw people jumping out of windows. I saw their body being explode on the ground when I was very little, multiple times, because we were living in like a what's it called, tall building, like very, very tall building, like 31 floors kind of thing. And man, in my lifetime living there, I think we left that apartment around when I was like 10 or so. And up until then, I can count it on 2 hands how many people I saw. Like, it was a lot. How many people died. There was one situation where my friend and I, we were like very little. We were so little, our game was jumping on top of bed. That's how I remember it. And we both saw at the same time like some orange thing falling to the ground. And immediately we run down and we both say like it's a basketball. It's a basketball, right? And we were the first at the scene. I remember it very vividly. It was a man, and his leg was completely split open because of how he fell or whatever. And you can see all the fat. It was like all orange. Man. Nobody ever talked about it with me. Like tried to soothe me or whatever. It was just a reality. It was just something that happened. And then kept on happening. But going through all this emotional abuse, and man, is the more I work with these videos, and like the more I watch with this, trying to improve myself and stuff, the more I realize how much work I already done. And I'm still messed up. And I'm still messed up. What the hell, man? That is... Wow. Some people go through life like this until the end. They never bother trying to figure it out. Social pressure makes them marry, have a job, live the NPC life, and without knowing what's gonna happen next, they're gonna get it to their children. And so the cycle continues. And it being a generational thing, it's wow, it's like it's clear as how do you say, clear as glass. Clear as day. I feel a lot of wow moments right now. And it just all makes sense. I wish I was looking into HealthyGamerGG much earlier. I was looking at a few things of his when he was becoming big with the Wreckful story, and we might have to watch the Wreckful thing on stream, but I'm gonna cry. Because I did back then. Everything that I thought I was helping myself with was just the surface. And it helped a lot. It did. But now we're getting to the meat of the matter. Dude, this is... wow.
Right? And how does meditation help? You have to sit and you have to feel that you, like, it's kind of hard to describe. Or happiness in a relationship. Right? So during the good years with your girlfriend, because where does happiness in a relationship go here? It's not just emotional. Maybe it's emotional, right? So maybe it goes over here too.
Dude, I'm strong as fuck, man.
I'm not really
I'm so fucking strong, it's insane.
Okay. But the key thing is that I think when you were happy in the relationship, the reason that you felt more human and less of a ghost, the reason you saw the world in color is because she gave you a sense of belonging. What do you think about that?
No, for sure.
And so what happened is she answered this question for you. Do I deserve to live? And the way that she interacted with you as a human being made you think that the answer is yes. And as the relationship declined, your sense of deserving to live was still young and fragile. So 2 years of a relationship with a shy girl who doesn't understand quite as much about life as, let's say, someone else does, could not strengthen you enough. She couldn't do, in 2 years of loving you and making you feel like you belong, she could not undo 22 years of emotional damage and complex PTSD, which makes perfect fucking sense.
And the one relationship I had that was going on for a year, everything else was like 2 months or so. And then another one that went on for like half a year, but that was a rough one. The year one that I considered my only relationship, I ended up getting cheated on. And all throughout the time we were together, it was easy because we were in the same class at school. So you can't even count that. And if you count it, it's a sad ending. Like, where am I standing with this? It only makes sense that I'm not able to have a relationship. That's why the last relationship I tried so hard. Only good intentions thinking. That's what it's about.
Right? And then when the relationship goes sour, it's not enough. And so can you be fully healed? Absolutely. Now I feel confident because I've talked myself into it and I've convinced myself. And the way that you get fully healed is that you do this. And this kind of goes back to earlier when I was saying, okay, like it actually, like you have lots of different problems. Absolutely. And so fully healed doesn't come from medication. It comes from all of this shit because you have shit going on every part of your being.
A medication is going to be the kickstart.
The only thing that I'm not sure is it doesn't
I can
sound
really
like
see it working like this as well.
What is that exactly?
It's
so
the bridge.
I don't hear like strong cognitive biases about the way that you view yourself. Right? So like some of the people that I talked to, like a good example of this, like a couple weeks ago, we interviewed Sweet Anita. And Sweet Anita felt like she doesn't deserve to like take care of herself. So cognitive bias goes over here.
Oh, I guess I've worked a lot on that part.
Absolutely. And that's why I don't think we see it. Because you did CBT or psychologist.
Yeah.
Right?
Self-compassion helped a lot, extremely a lot. And meditation helped a lot in that part too.
Yep.
I would say.
Right? So so let's just think about this. So in emotion creates a cognitive bias. Does this make sense? Like the emotion is on the emotional level, and then you feel like you're a piece of shit, and then your analytical mind creates justifications for why you're a piece of shit. But that's a separate part of your mind. And you can use self-compassion. Sorry, guys, this is getting messy. So self-compassion is going to target this. And CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, is going to target the analytical construction based on the root of your negative emotion.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
You wrote meditation as spiritual. It's any kind of general meditation or what?
Nope.
Because I have been meditating for quite a while.
Yep. So you need to do meditations that are geared towards discovering your sense of self. So this is because like this, people call this meditation
I have to do this too.
Self-compassion, like metta meditation, is over here. So that's like self-compassion, like loving kindness meditation.
Yeah.
Right. So there are lots of different kinds of meditation, and they work on different levels. There are also some meditations, like I'll ask people to do investigative meditations, like what is the sound of the breath? That's like a kind of an intellectual meditation.
What is sound of breath?
So you need to do like, who am I? And in particular, there are a few powerful mantras that will help you answer this question.
Okay.
But that's the kind of I'll teach you something today. I just got to think about this. The first thing that I need to do is check in with you, though. Does this make sense?
I write this down.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm actually really happy to actually even see it in picture and noticing and seeing the parts, like, because I believe I've come really far away even in these like 21 years. Even though I have like aimlessly gone somewhere, I think it still learned me something along the way, and it makes sense when adding everything. Because maybe it's more like all these sections I have to work on, and there's like one last piece I haven't, which I guess is like the spiritual, which I haven't really dealt with. So yeah, it actually makes much sense, and yeah.
And so here's why I think your hopelessness is completely understandable. Because when you have complex PTSD and you go to a professional and they give you a medication, that's not going to work. And so basically the basic problem that I think the reason that you're hopeless, and it's not your fault, I think you've actually done remarkably well given the hand that you were dealt. It's actually fucking amazing. Is that you're like, all of your treatments are like all over the place. You're trying to solve stuff with some koshas from like other koshas. And so your effect size, it's going to be kind of like I'm continuously like trying to heal your right arm, even though the damage is in your left leg. And the issue is that you get a little bit of bandwidth. You get a little bit from here, you get a little bit from here. And then over time, though, it feels like it's not really working because you're not targeting your treatments towards what you've done. Or actually, that's not even entirely true. Because I think you've actually, like, because you had problems here and here too. It's just you've actually found good treatments, right? So you had emotional feelings of, and this is exactly why it's beautiful. So you had emotional feelings of shame, and then you say self-compassion helped with that. And this is the mistake, this is the diagnostic mistake that people make. When someone has complex PTSD and they're filled with shame and they get treated with self-compassion, they think they are fixed, but they're not fixed because they never got to this. Right? And so then you get hopeless because you said, okay, I have complex PTSD. I have all these negative emotions. I learned self-compassion and I'm not fixed. And then hopelessness is completely reasonable because complex PTSD, you thought you did the treatment for complex PTSD and you're not better. And so then you're hopeless. Absolutely, man. You should be hopeless because you thought you did what you needed to do and you did a lot, which you can tell us. And you're like, hey, I actually grew a lot there. Hey, the medication's actually really helping. And you're not fully healed. And so then your question is beautiful. Now we come back to your original question. Can I become fully healed? And the answer, and it's completely reasonable for you to ask that question because you did this and you did this and you talked to a psychologist and you found yourself not being fully healed.
Yeah.
And then you start to question. You're like, if I talk to the psychologist more, if I add on more medications or if I learn more self-compassion, will I be fully healed? And the thing is, you actually know the answer to that, Will. And the answer is no, you're not going to be fully healed. Not from that.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like this picture and the overview, it feels like it can capture kind of any problem, I guess. And
absolutely.
Like it's an overview of everything, basically.
Yes. And this is what the yogis learned. They said that a human being can be divided into these 5 layers. And that an attack on one layer deserves a treatment on that same layer. And that a strong kosha or one strong layer can buffer or protect you from other layers. So when I deal with people with cancer, right, that's a gigantic attack on the physical and the energetic. And if they are deeply spiritual people and have a lot of emotional support, they do way better. When your grandmother, so grief is an emotional attack, right? It's a different color.
Yeah.
So grief attacks you here. And so when that happens, your physical, it almost reverberates. So you get energetic damage and you get physical damage. And there are studies that show that if someone loses a loved one and I give them a vaccine, their immune response to the vaccine is lower. Essentially, vaccines become ineffective in people who are in grief. And that's a physical effect based on an emotional insult. It's an energetic effect based on an emotional insult. When you go to see your grandmother and she's not there on the inside, that's an emotional blow which contributes to your sluggishness. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all connected. And so the cool thing is that you can like strengthen one area and it'll kind of protect you from the others. And that's how like people, this is where resilience comes from. So somewhere in here, William, I think you're actually very strong intellectually. And that has basically been like how you stay alive. Because you've been emotionally fucked. You've been, I don't know if like you're physically active or whatever. Maybe you're strong physically as well. But like spiritually, like, you know, something's been missing, and you've just basically, your intellect has been like carrying the rest of your sheets.
The same goes for me,
and
man.
That's why you're alive.
And physically, I'm a fucking
like,
string bean, dude.
You know, keeping you going. Okay, final questions, thoughts?
It's just so much work since forever.
No, I'm
that I've been getting
really,
physically
really
strong.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't expect too much because I felt very hopeless and stuff, and I didn't expect you to even have an answer and stuff like that. But
yeah, well, sometimes I surprise myself.
It's yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can fix.
And for me, this one question: Do I deserve to live? It's like a mix of this question and nothing really matters for me. Nothing matters. We are nothing in the galaxy. This is crazy, man. So much insight from one clip.
Fix you, but I can give you this. So now let me just think about meditation. I'm glad that I've given you some hope, which was not my intention, and for which I apologize.
And the current situation is just a blow onto my emotion, and that's why I'm getting dragged on my physical.
I don't know. No.
Okay. So now the question is, I feel like, okay, so I feel like that's sort of enough, but I also feel like I should give you the first step in the meditation practice for how you discover whether you deserve to be here.
Okay.
I want to know.
So I have a good answer. I have the technique that I think you eventually need. I just don't know if you're ready for it. And I think the technique what you need, so I very rarely feel this way, but sometimes I'm inspired to give someone a mantra. But a mantra or mantra is something that's usually given in a very specific way. And I feel like I know so sometimes when I work with people, I feel this inner sort of inspiration that this mantra is going to help this person. I just don't know if you're ready for it yet. So let me just think about this. And let me think about the prospect of giving a mantra over the internet and giving it to people who are not ready for it. I just have to think through this. Because I've been
taught that holds it?
Huh?
Is it because of not enough meditation experience, or what is it that is holding that back?
I don't know if you're capable of understanding the mantra yet, because I just don't know where you are spiritually. There's a part of me that says that you're ready for it and just go for it, but I have to just think about whether I can come up with something else that will do the trick.
And just yesterday I said, guys, I didn't know work on the spiritual realm. Zero. All the work I did in spiritual was taking mushrooms, LSD. That was all I needed, right? I smoked DMT. That was crazy. Holy shit.
Okay, we'll try this. Oh, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, then we'll just see where this goes. I don't know where this is going. So I'm giving you.
But no work.
Okay, so if we ever, if we ever had the opportunity to meet in person, William, I'm going to teach you a mantra on that day. But if we never meet that, then someone else will show up and they'll teach you what you need to know. So I want you to sit up straight. You're tall, right?
No.
You're not? Okay, you look tall.
No.
So whatever. Okay, so just sit. Okay, so sit up straight, round out your shoulders, pull them back a little bit. Good. Okay. Close your eyes. And I want you to feel your hands. Just feel the presence of your hands. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, okay? So now hold one of your hands up in front of your face and look at it. Just look at it for a second.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you a question. Is that you?
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a container of me, yeah.
It's a container of you.
Yes.
But it's not you. Right? So put your hand down, close your eyes. So now let me ask you something. If I have a container that has, let's say I have a box, and in the box is bread. Is the box the same thing as the bread?
No.
Okay. So now I'll ask you again, or let's just reflect for a moment. So feel your hands. And don't touch your hands, just keep them palm face up in your lap. So like kind of like this, people are watching, right? So just keep them palm face up. Okay, or what you can do is lay your right palm on top of your left palm. Actually do this. Lay your right palm on top of your left palm and sort of make like a circle and let it sit in your lap. Let your hands rest in your lap. And I want you to ask yourself the question, are my hands me? Actually separate your hands, place them on your lap. And then ask yourself, is this me? Like, are you your hands? What do you think?
I think yes.
I mean, I would say no.
Okay. So then, eyes closed, good.
Yeah.
Now put your hands together, your right hand on top of your left hand. Let your thumbs touch, so you're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're basically doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, I'm going to ask you kind of a weird question, absolutely a leading question. So don't get led, just really pay attention to yourself. When your hands are together and you form that circuit, do you feel like there are more of you?
No.
Yes.
It's fucking weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's...
It is a sensation of
I think it's the
feeling my
posture with
hands
the
that
arms
makes me
does it a
think
lot,
that
like,
I am my
unwinding
hands.
myself now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now here's your question, okay? So what the fuck is that? Like, that's just fucking weird.
Yeah.
How does your sense of your body being closer to you have anything to do with the position of your hands?
I mean, it felt like I just took more space, and yeah.
You're right. It's just weird, right? Like, it's weird. So now here's the question. Weird. So now close your eyes. Hands apart. Feel the disconnection of you. Feel that you are not your hands. Okay, and now so now bring a hand up in front of you. Look at it. And look at it. Now, is the hand that you see more you or less you or the same amount of you is when you are closing your eyes and your two hands are in your lap?
Fuck.
Maybe even less?
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's the right answer. But like you're going on your feeling, right? You're not telling me what I want to hear. Maybe
no, I was trying to feel what I felt on the other arm. Like I was comparing what I saw, and then I was comparing what I still had my other arm on the lap. So excellent. I was referring to those points. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's good innovation. Okay. So like now I'm going to ask you questions. So now we're going to reflect. Okay. So like, what are you feeling closer to and further away from? What's that? Because you've got a sense of something, right? It's like furthest here.
Yeah.
Closer in your lap, and even closer when they're together.
Yeah, it's a quite weird posture as well.
Yep. But what is the thing that you are getting closer to when you do these three things?
Like myself, if I can explain it.
Yeah. So what is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not supposed to answer. You're not supposed to answer. So now, William, so the first meditative practice is that I want you to become familiar with this thing. So do this practice so you can look at and you're already doing it right because it's good that you're making a comparison. So, you can look at your hand or you can look at your face in the mirror and then you can close your eyes and then try to just, I don't know how else to put this, but like move on. So there's like, I want you to imagine a road where like the regular world is over here and that sense of Eunice is over here. I want you to, don't even necessarily try to, find what is over here. Just learn how to move back and forth between them. Right? So there's this, and there's this. So you can do it by looking at yourself in the mirror. You can close your eyes in front of a mirror and just kind of be in front of it. And then you can do this and sit up straight and then feel that closeness to you.
When you say learn, you mean learn to have this feeling without doing that?
No,
or...
I'm saying that just become familiar with the weird idea that you can come closer, just move further and closer away from yourself and get familiar with that road.
Okay.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask you, so now sit up straight.
Yep.
Can you sit with your legs crossed?
They are, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, sorry, like this.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, next thing is, can you put your right heel on top of your left thigh? Can you sit like this? Or can you, if you can't do that from a flexibility standpoint, don't worry.
I can.
Okay. Now,
but you have your other leg down, right?
Yeah, it's down. My foot's down here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
It's hard for me because my legs are so fat.
Okay.
Also, the thumbs touching each other. Yeah.
Yep. And now, so relax, and now feel. Do you feel closer to yourself again?
Yeah, it feels like another part is attached. Like it's more in the below as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you the question, William. Does what you feel deserve to be alive?
I don't know. Yes.
That's the right answer. Okay. So now this is your practice. Okay. So you can just sit with this person that you are, and you're right that it feels more attached. It's cool. I'm glad. I think you're doing it right. So if you guys are wondering how the yogis came up with the yoga postures, this is how they did it. This is where mudras come from. It's because they're able to detect certain things about the self, for lack of a better term, that facilitates connection to the self. That's why meditative postures, this is the posture, by the way, that Buddha and Shiva, Shiva's, you know who Shiva is? Like he's like one of the Hindu gods. So Shiva and Buddha use this posture. This, it's called Bhairava Mudra, which means fierce or terrifying. This is actually what this mudra means. That's the translation, Bhairava. So it's a mudra of intensity because it brings you very intensely to yourself. And it's also kind of like severe and it can be scary and terrifying. But yeah, if you're feeling more attached, that's good. You're doing it right. So you just play around with this, man. That's all you got to do. And try to find out, just try to get and hang out. You don't even have to find out who you are or anything like that. Occasionally, I want you to ask the question about whether this person deserves to be here. But you're not necessarily looking for an answer. I don't want you to figure out who you are, any fucking, yoga, calendar, spiritual stuff. Don't worry about any of that. I just want you to hang out with that dude for a while. Do the practice. I would say if you can sit for I tell people to start with 3 to 5 minutes, and you've done a remarkable amount of connection in less than 60 seconds. So the quality of meditation is more important than the quantity of time that you meditate. The reason that quantity of time is important is because you want to train yourself for having high quality meditation on a more often basis. But 60 seconds of what you did is actually fine if you can get there. Do you know what I mean by get there?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can get there, great. And then ideally you want to do this 15 to 20 minutes, at least 3 days a week, ideally even every day or 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and just hang out with yourself. And then, one day we'll meet in person, I hope, or someone else will meet. And if you've been doing this practice diligently, I'm going to be able to tell. And if I can tell, I'm going to give you a mantra.
Oh, cool.
And
what do you mean by you can tell, though?
It's the same way that because here's the thing, William, I don't know if you've done this before, if you've noticed this before, but sometimes I teach people to meditate and they have these weird experiences. And then everyone at home is like, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. So I don't know how to ask you questions and teach you practices that are going to help you understand something about yourself. But I just know. And sometimes based on the way that you answer me, I can tell that you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. Because what I'm asking you to do, because your words cannot translate your experience. So when you say that crossing your legs makes you feel more attached, I know you're doing it right. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but I know it is similar to what I feel. And it's the whole reason that I asked you to do it. The reason I asked you to sit that way is because I wanted you to feel more attached, but I didn't know what to call that. And that looks like it's our time. Okay. All right. So any last questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Say good luck to William. You want to say good luck to William? No? No luck for William? Okay. Sorry, William.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, dude, seriously though, thank you very much for coming on. I think you can absolutely get healed.
What a cutie!
I think I should be the one thanking you, really. Really.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's helpful and sorry for being, well, you're welcome. And sorry for being general, but don't give up hope, because I really think you can.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you can get there. Okay.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So let's do. Okay. So hopefully that made sense, guys. I don't know. And if for those of you that meditation didn't work, don't worry about it. We teach a lot of different things.
The meditation is really weird for me too.
So
the question, do I deserve to be here doing the meditation? It does not like.
Can you get going now? Can I finish talking? No? It's really distracting. I'm having trouble getting my groove. Can't? Give me some space? No? Okay. I don't even know if you understand what I'm doing, but okay. You want to sit in my lap? That's fine. Can I have a kiss? No? Okay. All right. So let me just... All right. So guys, let me explain something to y'all, okay?
What is she doing?
So, when you guys, like when we were doing fundraising, like part of what we want to do is map out some of this stuff like bunch Gorsha theory for you guys so that you can make it more accessible. What are you doing? I can't, I'm trying to wrap up with them. And I've got a spiel and I have to collect my thoughts. And if you're threatening me with your tongue and your finger, then I can't do that. Go, get out of here, go. No. I think she understands that you guys are watching. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so bunch Gorsha theory is very, very helpful, and I highly, I don't know how you guys would be able to do that, but it's something that we want to teach a little bit more comprehensively. It's really hard to just like sit and lecture about it. So we're working on how to make that information more accessible to you guys. A couple of other things. So we've got, I think we're still figuring out what we're doing on Wednesday. We've got JD and on Friday. On Wednesday, our coaching platform launches. So thank you very much for all of your support. And so we've also got, if you guys want to follow us on social media and things like that and see posts about, various things that we're working on, y'all can use !socials. And we have a lot of people that we want to thank, but I think we may just go ahead and do that. Or actually, yeah, we'll do that next time because we're over time and I got to run.
Oh, this is the guy. Oh, he doesn't have any videos, actually.
If I want this person to...
Well, that was a good one. That was a really good one. A bunch of insight. A bunch of stuff clicked. I liked it. I don't know what I can add besides the comments that I already gave. Most of all I'm trying to gather my thoughts right now myself. I'm gonna look into the meditation thing. So I'm very, like, from the get-go, as I said, very... It's like I don't have any connection to it. Zero. I don't know how to wrap this one up. That was incredible. I hope you guys liked it. And we're gonna watch more of these. And yeah. HealthyGamerGG, thank you, boy. We're uploading this one to YouTube, definitely.